enjoy some crime time. Warning, this video may contain details of graphic content. This channel is for mature audiences only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. In 1991, Gregory Green was married to his wife, Tanya Clayton Green, for 2 years. She was 6 months pregnant with their first child together. Tanya was fed up with Gregory's changed behavior and wanted to leave him, but unfortunately, she would never get that chance. Gregory stabbed her 10 times with a steak knife. He then proceeded to call 911, confessing to what he had just done, stating, quote, "I stabbed her, she's in the kitchen," end quote. Tanya would succumb to her injuries as well as their unborn child. In 1992, Gregory went to trial. He was mentally evaluated but was fit to stand trial. He pleaded to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. He was denied parole 4 times, twice in 2004 and twice in 2006. He was denied because the parole board felt as if Gregory had little to no remorse for what he did. Gregory would end up only serving 16 years in prison and was released in 2008. He was released due to good behavior and had a supportive friend named Fred Harris, who was consistently writing letters to the Michigan Parole Board on Gregory's behalf. Who is Fred Harris, you might ask? Fred Harris was a popular pastor in Detroit, Michigan, and a civil rights activist. Fred's first letter that was written to the parole board on August 17th, 2005 stated, quote, "Gregory and I were friends before his mishap, and he was incarcerated. I feel he has paid for his unfortunate lack of self-control and the damage he has caused as much as possible and is sorry. This will not restore the lives that were taken. He will carry that with him for the rest of his life," end quote. The following year, he wrote a second letter stating, quote, "I've noticed a great deal of growth, and his understanding has matured quite a bit as well as his processing skills. If he were to be released, he would be welcomed as part of our church community, and whatever we could do to help him adjust, we would," end quote. In 2010, 2 years after he was released, Gregory would end up marrying his friend slash pastor's daughter, 39-year-old Faith Harris Green, on December 18th, 2010. Faith had 2 children from a previous marriage, 13-year-old Shani Allen Jr. and 11-year-old Kara Allen. During Faith and Gregory's 6 years of marriage, they both had 2 beautiful girls, 5-year-old Kaylee Green and 4-year-old Coy Green. In 2013, Faith applied for a restraining order against Gregory, which was unfortunately denied due to lack of evidence of abuse. In August of 2016, Faith filed for divorce, but 1 month later, the unthinkable would happen. On the night was parked in an enclosed garage. He placed duct tape on the muffler. The girls sat inside the car that filled with carbon monoxide. After the children were deceased, he placed both of them back in their beds. He attacked Faith with a knife and slashed her face and throat. He took her to the basement and proceeded to duct tape her to the chair and shot her in the foot. If that wasn't horrifying enough, he brought her two eldest children down to the basement, 19-year-old Shadney and 17-year-old Kara. He shot them both in the head, killing them. He forced Faith to watch her children die, just as Gregory did with the first murder. He proceeds to contact police, telling them what he did, and met them in the driveway. Gregory was evaluated to see if he was mentally incompetent. When the evaluation came back, he was fit to stand trial. In February of 2017, he pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder, torture, and assault to do great bodily harm. On March 1st, 2017, he was sentenced to 102 years in prison. He will be 97 when he can be eligible for parole. Faith spoke out on Gregory's sentencing hearing, stating, quote, "Justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity for murdering 4 innocent children. You're a con artist. You're a monster," end quote. I will leave the link in the description box of her whole speech. She is an extremely strong woman for being able to stand up high and read that letter without breaking down. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Gregory also spoke out in an attempt to show his remorse, but his words were irrelevant, and I'm not even going to waste my time or yours repeating it. A beautiful funeral was held for all 4 beautiful children on September 30th, 2016. Faith shared some insight on the personalities of each of her children. She stated that Chadney Allen was a strong, unique, and smart man. He had just previously graduated in 2015 from Southfield High School. He completed a certificate in digital arts and was really good at art. Kara Allen, aka Kara Bear, was creative, beautiful, confident, and a go-getter. She was a senior at Southfield High School. She was on the school newspaper, cheer team, and National Honor Society. She had dreams of becoming an OBGYN doctor. 5-year-old Koi, aka Princess Koi, loved playing dress-up and getting her hair done. She loved being the center of attention. And last but certainly not least, 4-year-old Kaylee, aka Sweet Pea, was a mommy's girl. She was always attached to her mommy's hip. Koi and Kaylee attended the same Catholic school, and Kaylee loved to sing and loved being sitting in a diner, he came up with a marketing idea that every windshield replacement he did, the customer would receive a free meal. This marketing idea was such a genius idea that Rick had trouble finding restaurants that could keep up with the volume. His business went from a one-man operation in 1982 to branching off into 6 states 2 decades later. Empire Auto Glass was earning $13 million in revenue, and Rick was bringing home $2 million annually. Rick took a break from his glass business and focused on his jewelry business. He placed several ads in the Arizona Republic, marketing that he had jewels for sale at an affordable price. A guy named Robert Lamech saw this ad and thought this would be a great opportunity for a come-up. Now let's get into some backstory of who Rob Lamech is. 24-year-old Rob was a male dancer and had his own escorting business. He met Brandy Hungerford at a nightclub. Brandy was also an exotic dancer. As I stated before, Rick placed an ad in the Arizona Republic about selling affordable jewels. Rob convinced Brandy to lure Rick into a motel room with the promise of having intercourse with him, and Rob would rob him. Brandy went along with the plan. Brandy and Rick met on several different occasions, and on August 9th, 2002, Brandy and Rick went to B.F. Chang's for dinner. Brandy was able to convince Rick to get a hotel room so they could have drinks together. She was even able to convince him to bring $1 million in jewelry so he could, quote, show her friends, end quote. But that was all a lie. Rick and Brandy were seen on a surveillance video checking into a Best Western motel. When they got to their room on the 3rd floor, Brandy excused herself to use the bathroom, and this is where she contacted Rob to set the plan in motion. When Rob arrived to the hotel, Brandy left the hotel room to meet Rob. Her excuse for leaving Rick was that she needed to grab ice for drinks. She met Rob in the hallway and they walked back to the room and executed the plan. Rob took all of Rick's jewelry at gunpoint. According to Rob and Brandy, this is what happened, but a witness stated that they heard a woman say, quote, "Don't hurt him, he's not going to say anything," end quote, and she heard 4 gunshots. 44-year-old Rick Chance was found dead in the hotel room. Brandy Hungerford was arrested 5 days later in Tacoma, Washington. She was charged with first-degree murder and was extradited back to Arizona, where she confessed to everything, which gave her a lesser sentence. She was then charged with second-degree murder and was sentenced to 14 years in prison. 2 days after Brandy was extradited, Rob was arrested and was charged with armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and felony murder, and was sentenced to life in prison. As of 2022, Brandy got out in 2016, and her whereabouts are unknown. As of Rob, he is still serving a life sentence. Renae Marsden lived in Sydney, Australia, with her parents Mark and Teresa and 3 other siblings. She had a very close relationship with her family, and they described her as being the spark, having an infectious laugh, bubbly, affectionate, and she always put her friends and family first. Renae met a guy named Angus in 2010. The relationship was great until Renae found out that Angus sent someone a message stating that he would cheat on her and he was only dating her to use her. After 2 years of them dating, Renae ended the relationship. According to Renae's mother, Teresa, she stated that Renae was very upset about how things ended with Angus. Renae began dating a guy by the name of Braden. Braden was her friend Camilla's ex-boyfriend. Renae's mother had her suspicions about Renae dating her friend Camilla's ex-boyfriend. She felt as though it would cause drama between Renae and Camilla, but Renae insisted that Camilla was completely fine with them being together, and Renae's mother just wanted Renae to be happy. Braden was 23 years old. He went to a high-ranking school, and his family owned a construction company. Renae explained to her family that her and Braden had a lot in common, and they both wanted the same things out of life. Renae and Braden had a long-distance relationship. Renae insisted on meeting Braden in person, but he always had some type of excuse as to why he could not be able to. In January of 2012, Renae went on a 2-week cruise with her family. When she returned, she received a text message from her friend Camilla stating that Braden and his friend Ronnie had gotten into a motorcycle accident. Ronnie did not make it, and Braden was being charged with the manslaughter for Ronnie's death. Camilla also told Renae that Braden was going to go to prison and he wouldn't have visitation rights for the 2 years that he was supposed to serve. Somehow Braden was able to have a phone while he was in prison, so he kept in contact with Renae throughout his sentence. Once Braden was released from prison, him and Renae would get married. She was very much in love with him. She looked up honeymoon ideas in wedding photographers. The relationship would not get that far. Braden became extremely jealous and possessive. Renae told her mother that she wanted to end the relationship with Braden. Renae began tried to call her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Teresa contacted Renee's friend Camilla, asking if she heard anything from Renae, and she said yes. Renae told her that she loved her and was sorry. Camilla agreed to join Teresa in searching for Renae. At around 9 p.m. that evening, the police came to Renee's parents' home, and they told her that they found Renee's car abandoned at Watson's Bay. Renee's parents drove to where her car was abandoned and found a pair of her black flat shoes. The police sectioned off that area and stopped Renee's parents from searching the area. Police continued to search the area. They discovered a security footage. On the footage, it showed Renae walking down a path. She jumped over a fence, peeked over the ledge. She looked at her phone, and this is when she sent those 3 final text messages. One to her mother, one to Camilla, and the last message to Brayden. Renae threw her phone off the ledge and disappeared from the camera. Police believed this is when she jumped. Her body was never discovered. Renee's family were extremely confused as to why this happened. They began putting puzzle pieces together. They quickly realized that Brayden was never a real person. Camilla made him up the whole time. Police questioned Camilla, and she confessed that she made him up to cover the lesbian relationship between her and Renae. Police discovered that the cell phone that was used by Brayden pinged off the same tower as Camilla's phone. They called the prison where Brayden was supposed to be serving his time, but they did not have any record of Brayden ever being there. Renee's family asked Camilla why she would do this, and she explained that her and Renae were in love, and she did this because their families would not accept them. As of 2020, Camilla has not been charged with Renee's death because catfishing is not considered a crime in Australia. Gabrielle Lynn Ujlaky, who went by Britney, was born on June 4th, 2003 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. At the time of her death, she was attending Spring Creek High School. Britney was a huge cowgirl lover. She was described as having a loving heart and a spicy soul. She was the most happiest when she was doing her cowgirl activities. She always was willing to lend a hand in the horse training, grooming, and feeding at the 2U Ranch, where she spent most of her time. Britney loved flowers and would pick flowers for other people. On Sunday, March 8th, 2020, Britney went to watch her father's band practice. Her friend, 18-year-old Bryce Dickey, picked her up. Britney jokingly told her dad that she'd beat him home, but unfortunately, she never made it home. Britney's father, James, tried to call and text her several times, but was unable to reach her, which was not like Britney at all. Around 8:30 p.m., James called the police to report his daughter missing. 3 days later, on 11th, 16-year-old Britney's body was discovered in Burner Basin, which is a secluded desert. Britney's friend Bryce was the last person to see Britney. When police questioned him, he told them that Britney asked him if he could drop her off at Spring Creek High School. She supposedly got into a green Ford pickup truck with a man wearing a cowboy hat. James immediately knew that Bryce was lying. Britney would never run off with a stranger. She was well aware of not going off with strangers without letting her family know. She was taught self-defense and was educated on not leaving her drinks unattended, so she was very educated on what strangers were capable of. A used condom was found near the body. Once again, Bryce Dickey was taken into the police station and interviewed. He agreed to give a DNA sample, and the DNA was a match to the bodily fluids found inside the used condom. 18-year-old Bryce Dickey was arrested and charged with murder and is currently facing the death penalty. Bryce and Britney had been friends for years, and she even looked up to him. According to her friends, she would sometimes call him her big brother. The story that Bryce told police about Britney going into a green pickup truck was fabricated to throw police off his track.